it stops, no one knows. We're going headed into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome back to Criminality. Hello, hello, hello. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I'm exhausted. My daughter Kaylee had gymnastics competitions this weekend, so I'm tired. But hello to everybody and welcome back. Hi, Lilith. Hi, Missing Unsolved Crime. What's up, Lambert? Hi, Queen. Kel. Hello, Gambler. Hi, Spicy. Malicious Intent. Hi from Abby and the boys. Hi, everybody. Hi, Susie Q. What's up, Tony? New Wood. I've been waiting all day. Hi, Rod. Hi, Becky. Woman doing impossible things. What's up, Tony? Hey, Shaz. Inspector Gadget. Just Deb. Freeze Dry It. What's up, Rescue All the Dogs? Good to see you. Hold on. Hi, Jen. Hey, Caitlin. Music City Mom. Oh, I'm already being interrupted. Hold on one second. Okay, sorry. I had got her new leotards and she has to go to gymnastics right now. So she was showing me all of her new stuff that I bought her and how it looked. You know, girls, how we have to do things. So hi, everybody that just popped in. What's up, Sleuthy? Hi, Idaho. Hi, Aaron. Let's see. Marissa, Mrs. M, PCM. Hey, AH. Mandy. Ario. I love to care. What's up, Jen? Sweet dude. Laura. We'll be. Hi. Hi, Teresa. I don't know how many Teresas are here yet. You might be the first. Well, technically the second, I guess, right? Divided is fine as long as we are kind. Yep. How divided is the chat going to be today? I don't know. I guess it depends on how far we get into the topics that I wanted to cover. What's up, Artsy? Hi, Nursey. Hey, Bushi. So, I didn't put it all in the thumbnail or anything, but that's fine because whatever. It is what it is. But so Mitch Westerman, we got some new documents. We got some new documents from him. I didn't find them overly exciting, but that's fine. We're still going to go over and we'll just touch on it and see what we think. And then we have Nancy Grace, who did a Delphi episode. If you guys haven't watched that, we're going to take just a couple peeks at some of the things that she had to say. I started putting a list together of, we had talked about last week that we wanted to do all the Delphi questions / rumors that we've heard that we don't really know where they actually started from, and see if we can start working together to source some of that info. So I started putting that together. So if we can get to that, we'll get to that. I don't know. It depends on how long all the other stuff takes. And we can touch on, I think we'll end up touching on that when we talk about Nancy, with that, because Nancy Grace's episode is really about the CW documentary. So I think it'll be interesting. The Unraveling did a video yesterday that I thought was very good. If you guys have not checked that out, it's about 2.5 hours. So I had to watch it in 2 different parts, but it had a lot of info that I thought was quite interesting about Ron Logan. I know that we do have a handful of people who are, follow this channel that do still think that Ron Logan is a very viable person of interest in Abby and Libby's case. So it was very interesting. It was, finding more information. I don't think that Ron Logan is the guy, but I have so many questions about him. Like, did he stumble upon something later? I have a lot of questions about him. Now, do I think that I don't know. I don't, he's not the most viable for me, but I know that other people think that. I don't know. For me, it's just not. So it was interesting, though, getting some more information about his history and some of the stuff that the Unraveling was talking about yesterday. So if you guys haven't got a chance to watch that, you should check it out. Like I said, it's about 2.5 hours, but it's jam-packed full of info. Ironically, Nancy Grace does talk about the Ron Logan stuff, like I said, because we're going to end up touching on that in when we talk about her podcast. I know that Fig Solves put out a video debunking the Ron Logan side. So it's very interesting. There's definitely a split decision on whether Ron Logan has anything to do with anything. So I'm like, I want to learn. I want to learn stuff and see things and read stuff and go through all of it. So I'm on board with listening to what people's opinions are, and maybe something will come up that changes my opinion. That's just kind of where I'm at currently, because there's 2 factions within the older Delphi community, like the OGs. Well, I mean, because then you still have a group of people who still think that Keegan Kline is involved. So there's that whole part of it. And I've just been collecting all the Keegan Kline documents that I can possibly get my hands on, because if anybody knows me knows that once they started really kind of coming out with a lot of the Keegan Kline stuff, I did not see it. So I kind of bounced from doing anything with the case, because I didn't feel like we were going down the right path. So I was like, let them do what they got to do, figure out if it's him or not. I guess if they figure out it's him, then I'll come back. I didn't read all of his documents as they came out, unlike I am now with Delphi. So I've been trying to collect as many of those documents as I can find to get those together, so we can do probably like a whole big old thing on Keegan Kline. Plus, he has an entirely separate case that he is now, sentenced for. So it's almost like a case within a case, like everything else with this damn case. Every case is like a case within a case, because they arrested so many of these people along the way for other things that it's like in Delphi, you're going to catch a case. So it's like Ron Logan has a case within a case. It's just like, there's just these pockets of people. Daniel Nations has a case within a case. I mean, I think like we can go back to like even the Garrett Kurtz stuff, case within a case, like all of them. So it's like trying to just put as many pieces as I can together for the Prezi and for you guys, and then having it all in the one spot. So it's just a ton of info to try to collect. I did get some newer documents that I am very interested in sharing with you guys. I don't think we'll have time to probably touch on it today, because that's a lot too. So we'll probably have to do that one separately. And hello to everybody that just popped in. So let's get working on these. So we're going to go over the Westerman stuff. We'll talk about the Nancy Grace stuff. And then if we have time, we're going to get to working on our our working list of rumors and things that we've heard that we don't have any flippant idea where they came from or why we think they're true. And then we're going to work on trying to source all those things so that we know whether they should go into the Prezi or not. So let's start on Mitchell Westerman. I think everybody who's here is pretty familiar with who that is. If not, he is the gentleman, using the word loosely, that went into Baldwin's office and took the pictures of the crime scene photos and then sent them to his friend Robert Fortson, who then sent them out to a couple different people, who then sent them out to a couple more people, and then sent them out to a couple more people, and so on and so forth. So he has a case against him for conversion. He had requested a jury trial for a misdemeanor charge, and today he is requesting, his attorneys are requesting him for dismissal of the case in its entirety. Which is, we talk about all the legal stuff, and it's like, this is par for the course. This is what they do. Like, they have to, there's certain things that just have to get put in. You're going to see it in every single case. It doesn't really come as a surprise. It's just, this is what it's going to be. Like, we're going to see it. But the information that it could possibly contain may hold some answers. Now, when we talk about the Delphi case, we've kind of separated it into three main parts, right? We've got the leak part. We've got the legal part with all the attorneys going back and forth. And then we've got the actual case against Richard Allen. So just know my opinions on each of those things don't necessarily flow to the next opinion. Whether I think that Nick McClelland is a good prosecutor or prepared for this trial doesn't necessarily make me think that Richard Allen may not be the right guy. I know that gets kind of confusing because they're like, well, it is what it is. And Mitch Westerman's attorney actually used to be an attorney at Baldwin's office as well. So they did work together at some point. So motion to dismiss. The defendant by counsel respectfully requests this court, pursuant to Idaho Code, to dismiss the information filed in the above captioned cause. In support of this motion, the defendant states the following. On November 21st, 2023, an information was filed charging the defendant with conversion as a Class A misdemeanor. The information is defective under Idaho. God, I don't know why I always want to do that. Indiana Code, because the information fails to recite facts that constitute an offense and must be dismissed under this Indiana Code. So this is an interesting statement because we've gone back and forth with some of the legal people that say, he should be like charged with, all kinds of stuff, to other people who are like, this doesn't even fit. Like, this really isn't anything. Like, they shouldn't even be able to charge him with shit. Like, this is nothing. He didn't steal it. So they put him under this conversion charge, So, I mean, there's also been a lot of rumor that this case would probably get tossed. In accordance with Criminal Rule 3, a memorandum stating specifically the grounds for dismissal is filed contemporaneously with this motion. Wherefore, the defendant by counsel respectfully requests this court to set this matter for a hearing if the allegations set forth in this motion are denied by the state. If the allegations are either, so basically, hey, prosecutor, drop the charges, or judge, put us at a hearing where I'm going to prove to you that these charges have nothing. The Snapchat murders. Well, yeah, because everything that they were getting was from Snapchat, right? Isn't that an interesting one? Yeah, and how did it lose that name is actually a good question, Hard Candy. How did it lose the name the Snapchat murders? What happened that made people not call it that? Okay, so done. And then we have the brief. Hi, Alley Cat. Right. If you go back one day in my life, I tell you guys, I have all these grand ideas and things that I have going on. I was talking to Sluice Investigate earlier, and she's like, your brain is like a 15-lane highway, and you're trying to drive down like all 15 lanes at the same time. And you're not going to get anywhere because you can't take all the lanes. I'm like, ugh. But I have so many things that I'm like working on. I've been splicing all the family videos, all the family interviews, and all the law enforcement interviews together into one cohesive timeline. But that, of course, that's just something else I have not. I have not completed that task at this moment. Hi, Heather Brat. Cooking dinner. Mother of Dragons, do you know what video that was in? Where's JM? What did I miss it? Oh, hi, everybody that popped in. Hey, Babs. Hey, Cleveland. He went to law school, but he never actually passed the bar. So he should know stuff about law. Do you think so? I didn't. Well, I mean, we have him. We have. What's his name? Actually, that's the one thing we do know he did admit to. Hi, Shebe. Keegan Klein actually admitting to the Anthony Schatz account. Man, I've been saying that what he did is not conversion since he was charged. I know. I don't know. Hi, Southern Sweet Tea. My interpretation of conversion was using illicit material, i.e. discovery evidence under protection and seeking it for monetary purposes. Now, that could be, but we don't actually know that he sold them yet. But maybe something that'll come out. Watching Crime Nation. We're going to talk about that a little bit because that's what Nancy Grace's episode is on it. Many questions. Many questions. He should know not to take pictures of crime scenes and share them. Guess they didn't teach that. I don't think he actually cared, to be honest with you. Hi, Clyde, I hope. Okay, so this is the brief filed with the motion. Here are the facts, according to Mitchell Westerman. On November 21st, 2023, the state of Indiana charged the defendant with a crime of conversion, a Class A misdemeanor. The state specifically alleges that between August 1st, 2023 and October 5th of 2023, Westerman did knowingly or intentionally exert unauthorized control over the property of Andrew Baldwin, to wit, the images. Oh, Snapchat may have put the kibosh on that. That's actually a good point. Hi, Mrs. Depp. Good to see you. I don't know why my chat's being weird. It's like all like the comments are like doubled up on top of each other. I'm gonna turn this off. Hi, True Crime Web. I accomplished nothing. Like I said, I have all these things that I'm doing, and then I accomplished none of them. But it's good to see you, Steve. The probable cause affidavit in this case was filed along with the information. The probable cause affidavit essentially states that at some point during the charged time frame, Westerman was in the office and or conference room of Baldwin. Westerman was alone and took photos of photographs or documents that were left on the conference room table. Westerman did not have permission to take the photos, and that Baldwin was not present and did not give Westerman permission to take the photos. The photos that Westerman took were photographs of crime scene photos from the Richard Allen murder case. The analysis. The information is defective under Indiana Code because the information fails to recite facts that constitute an offense and must be dismissed under Indiana Code. The defendant contends that if every statement in the charging information and the probable cause affidavit were true, the conduct does not rise to the level of conduct necessary to support a conviction for a Class A misdemeanor or for Class A misdemeanor conversion. And then there's the note. The defendant is not admitting that every fact in the probable cause affidavit and the information is true. This is simply a necessary presumption to make when doing the analysis for the motion to dismiss. So what they're saying is, even if everything they said is true, everything that the law enforcement is saying, which would be Rector, is saying about him, even if it was true, it still doesn't qualify. But he's not saying it's true. Just if it was true, it still doesn't qualify for conversion. The following elements, okay, so hold on. In order for Westerman to be found guilty of conversion, the state would have to prove the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. 1, Westerman. 2, knowingly and or intentionally. 3, exerted unauthorized control over property. And 4, the property was images owned by Baldwin. What do you guys think of this? Hi, Nance. August is because they believe that the photos that were used were the ones that the defense had printed out and put the side-by-side images of in order to do the depositions with Liggett, Holman, all of them. So that's when August is. October 5th is when murder sheet contacts Holman and says, hey, which we now know that Becky Patty actually had contacted Holman already, which lines up more with what McLeland said, that he had been investigating the case for some amount of days that didn't actually, the math wasn't mathin'. But it does make sense because if the images were actually out on, you can have one of those, you cannot have both. Okay, you can only have one, you have to pick. Pick one.
Can I have this one later?
Yeah, after dinner. After dinner.
Oh, but what happens if someone eats it?
Nobody's going to eat it. Just put it somewhere safe that a doggy can't get it either.
Huh?
Put it somewhere safe that the doggy can't get it either. Okay, sorry. Can't have both right now. No, he wants 2 chocolate bars. You know, you're not getting 2 chocolate bars. You crazy, kid. You're lucky I say yes to 1. It wasn't filed by NM. No, not Westerman's probable cause. Not all that. No. What I'm talking about is when Westerman, when McLeland said in the email exchanges between the Baldwin and Rosie and the judge, and he was like, I've been investigating this like for 152 hours or whatever the heck, you know, I think he says like 11 days. I'd have to go back and look, but whatever it was a couple more days. Then we knew that the photos had been known about. But it does make more sense now that we know that the photos were actually out October 3rd, 4th, and then sent to one person here, one person here, one person here, and then, you know, and then it kind of takes its, you know, takes on a life of its own. So this was interesting to me because this is pretty much, in my opinion, exactly what Westerman admitted to. That he is Westerman. He is this person. He knowingly and or intentionally, he says, yeah, I went in there and I took the photos. He didn't have authority to take the photos. But I mean, did he have control over it? I don't know. This one is, and that the property was images owned by Baldwin. Well, technically, I guess because Baldwin's office had printed them, put them side to side, and created the evidence pictures in order to use them in the depositions, they would be owned by Baldwin. So this unauthorized control over the property is going to be, I don't know, because he doesn't take the property. He doesn't move the property. He just takes some photos of the property. I think that's going to be a hard thing. If you don't actually do anything with the property, you photograph it. Like if I go, or if you come to my house and you take a picture of one of my pictures, right? Like I have pictures on my walls of my kids. If you come to my house and you take a picture of those pictures, did you commit conversion? I think that's like, it's a very weird, I don't know. And I'm sure that there's probably not something that goes along with that. And that's one of the things that is kind of like the basic, you have to have a law that you break, and you have to have some type of restitution for the law that you broke. Now, those two have to match up, and I don't know if they're going to be able to pull off conversion. If anything, I think it would probably be, I had heard some were watermarked. I don't know about being, there is something on one of the photos that easily could be almost a reflection. Or it could be some type of watermark. I don't know. I did see it. We tried to figure it out. I can't figure it out. Maybe they never showed Westerman which pictures he was accused of taking. That's true too. Shelley, this was what I was thinking. But I've always questioned if there is a different set of photos. I don't know if that's even going to come into play. That's my own thinking and my own thought process. Well, gang, you know as well as I know that people just like to watermark shit that they don't own. It's just, sometimes how it goes. Investigating the actual photo leak from July of 2022, McLeland took bait. Westerman is a red herring for ISP evidence and discovery. Holman tell the truth Friday morning. Well, so this is where I'm at. Like, there's always there's this possibility that there is another set of photos. We've talked about this for a long time, and I hate even going backwards on this whole leak shit, but we've talked about that people were talking about photos of the bodies, not the clothing, but people were talking about photos of the bodies as early as I can find, January, February of 2023. Where were people getting the idea that there was going to be this release of pictures of the bodies back almost a year before there was? That's interesting to me. None of those people were like, hey, Mitch Westerman, once you are around Baldwin again, go in and take some pictures. These people were talking about that they were going to be coming out in January, February of 2023. So I have wondered, is it possible that he did not? Now he knows the photos that are out. He knows the photos that are out, and he's like, hey, those are not the pictures that I took. I didn't take those. Those were not those pictures. I doubt that. I think he took the pictures. I think those are the pictures that came out. But I'm just saying, like, playing different scenarios. But I don't know how you're going to do. Yeah, an image is owned by Baldwin. The only reason I can say owned by Baldwin, like I said, in my opinion, would be that he created the like the board to show the differences. There has to be. Yeah, Prosecutor Podcast put out a statement in January of 23 to not share them, that they were being told they were coming out and not share them. Other people in February were saying, nope, or in January, we're saying, we know the images are coming out in February. It appeared similar to an evidence or a court stamp. A court stamp? Maybe a court stamp. I wouldn't think they would put that on the direct picture, though. No? Wouldn't they put, if they're going to mark it, wouldn't they mark it off on the side? Would they put it right in the smack dab middle? And wouldn't the defense have they would have the pictures that don't have that? Yeah, even if Baldwin created something, he didn't copyright it or publish it as a unique work. Huh? So did he own it? So if Westerman took pictures, then those belonged to him. That was my next question too, Southern Sweet Tea. He took photos. So how much control over them? He didn't take the photos. He didn't take the photos and send those photos out. He took photos of photos. So is that control? I don't know, just curious. I was curious what you guys were thinking, because I'm like, I don't know how they're gonna go with this. The information in this case is deficit. It's defest. I can't even think because I'm looking at two different screens. KDW, KW 10-12 months. What? You're not. No, you're good. You're not that late. We just got over a little bit. The information in this case is deficient because it fails to show that Westerman exerted unauthorized control over property and that the property was actually owned by Baldwin. Hey, Ruckus. They appear to be evidence stamps. So that's what Steve is just saying too. It's something along those lines. But you guys tell me, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't. Most of the time that they would have, if it's some type of evidence stamp, why would they do it right over the main part of the photo you're actually looking at? And even if it is an evidence stamp and they did do that, why wouldn't the defense print out a picture? They obviously would have it without that because they're the defense team. That they would be able to have the actual images. Why would they print out the one with the court stamp? That's not only, I don't get that. But it does, I mean, I can see what you're saying about it. I can see what you guys are saying about it looking like a stamp because it has those lines. And I had compared it to, ironically, to Jimmy Duvall's mugshot where there is like a rectangle stamp on it. It is. That's a weird spot to put an evidence stamp. Is it Ruckus's birthday? Ruckus, is it your birthday? I think it's going to be semantics, kind of like they're going to argue the word owned and property and control and exert back and forth. I agree with you. 60? Who's 60? Not Ruckus. He's on a day over like 39. $18 again. I have no idea where or what generation of copy the photos were. Fair point. Well, happy birthday, Ruckus. Everybody's saying happy birthday, so I'm going to go with that. It is your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. Nah, Ruckus is still young. Hey, Frank Meister. Good to see you. Well, I think the semantics are going to come to the words, not the law, but it's going to come down to the wording. What is the definition of control? What is the definition of owned? I think that's where the semantics really come in. Hey, Patricia, if those pictures were used for anything other than evidence of the crime or crime scene, like for gain in any way, that would be conversion. So we were talking about that, and if there's any type of money, if there's any money exchanged, is that what you would think too? Hi Kyle. It's my youngest boy's birthday today. He's a whopping 40 today. Woohoo! Him and Ruckus. Happy birthday, boys. Wait, you got married? You got married on your anniversary? I mean, you got married on your anniversary. Stupid. Yes, of course you did. You got married on your birthday? No way. Did you really? True crime. Oh my God, I cannot talk today. I don't even know what I'm doing. True crime and wine couple. I like that. I watched a lawyer's podcast, and he said this type of thing would never go to court. I'm surprised. I agree. Money doesn't matter. Hi, Tornado. Well, happy anniversary. Happy birthday. You got born on your anniversary day. There you go. Yeah, married on the 4th of July. We just picked a random day and got married. It didn't have anything to do with anything. I'm smart. I never forget my aunt. That's actually a great point. That was probably a good idea. Happy all of it day, Ruckus. He made a good point, Bushi, to get married on your birthday, then you don't forget your anniversary. So if there's no gain, it's not conversion. I don't know. It's very interesting to me. Like I said, I've listened to lawyers, and I hear both. I hear, oh yeah, this is going to be fine, or they should have even really thrown the book at him and given him even more. And then I've heard others that are like, we don't even know what the hell this is doing. It's not going to do anything. See, Kyle, that's a very smart thing too. Everybody, look at that. You get a free date night, free fireworks show for your anniversary. You're like, oh, look at them all celebrating us. We did so good. Borrow without permission, but no money mattered. Okay, so now if we talk about the word borrow, Tornado, then I have a question there too, because he doesn't actually take those images. Yeah, maybe they do have evidence of gain that we don't know. I don't know. They didn't put that in his probable cause, if that's true. Part of the statute is simply putting a price on the item, not necessarily selling it. I don't know how you could even put a price on that kind of item, though. My baby daddy got married on our daughter's second birthday. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I hope that didn't last. Unauthorized control, I think that is the point, an important point. Yes. But I think that's the question, though. What is control? If they're sitting there, let's say he doesn't even touch them. They're just sitting there. That's why I'm like, if I invite you to my house and you take a picture of my pictures, I didn't give you permission to take the pictures of the pictures. You don't touch the pictures. They're just on the wall. You just take the picture of it. Then how is what you did illegal? Are you not allowed to come and take pictures of my stuff? And is it my stuff? Because am I allowed to keep it? I mean, they said that the judge said I could keep my work product. Fine. Yeah. Literally, I don't think there's any jail time. If there is, it's very minimal. It's a misdemeanor. I doubt it at all. Hey, Gene. Yeah, but that's the whole, you need a law with some type of restitution that can go with breaking that law. Is there a law about taking photos of evidence in a murder case? Is that even a written law in the penal code? You can't walk into an art gallery and take photos and hand them around. Okay, so that's a good example. You can't do that because the owner of them, they were owned by somebody else and probably copywritten because it's their own work, right? Well, Lone Pony, no, that's what I'm like. What is that? I don't know. It could be. I'm not telling you all my secrets, Lone Pony. No, the photo is copying. The photos is copying. Another option of the marks could be contamination from a stamp on the back of another photo and transferred to the sticky gloss. Ooh, true. Right. Are the side-by-side considered work product? Now we're back to that whole thing again. How can you blame one who doesn't do the physical action in these circumstances? Well, this one, he does take the photos, but if he doesn't do anything with them, yeah, sticky gloss, that's official. That's totally an official term. Mm-hmm. Hi, Roxanne. Hey, Adrian. No, we don't know that yet. We may know it come trial when they talk about the people at the crime scene and how it was processed. Okay. Well, where were we at? Okay, so exerting unauthorized control. Assuming all facts in both the information and probable cause affidavit are true, the state has failed to state when or how Westerman has ever exerted control over photographs or images found in Baldwin's office. The state has only alleged that Westerman took unauthorized photos. Taking photos is not the same as exerting control. Indiana Code defines exert control over property as used in this chapter. Exert control over property means to obtain, take, carry, drive, lead away, conceal, abandon, sell, convey, encumber, or possess property, or to secure, transfer, or extend a right to the property. Now that's a curious question right there. You ask whoever paid Mitch. Did they look to see not only did Mitch get paid before the photos or after the photos, if there was a money exchange at all? J. Kyle Keener took photos as a reporter, so he was close enough to, apparently, which I've never seen those, to capture the actual crime scene. But I've only ever heard that in rumor. The ones I've seen that he did take, you can't see a crime scene. You can see the area the crime scene is in, but you don't see the crime scene. And he wouldn't have been taking the crime scene photos. I hope they dismiss it and move on. I mean, I don't disagree. If he did it for money, I wish someone would dig into his and the Texas guy's finances. Is MW a CI for NM? Those I don't know. I have no idea. I've heard a lot of rumors about connections that Mitch Westerman has. I just don't. I don't know what they're going to do to Westerman here. This seems like a lot of. If there isn't any money involved, I feel like they're wasting a lot of money. But they're trying to hold him accountable, which I get, and I get what he did. I just don't know if it's. I mean, shit. People are doing much worse. I don't mean much worse. I mean, the crime is much worse, and they're getting a slap on the wrist and being told to go. Girl, it's Delphi. I wouldn't be surprised if he did take the crime scene photos. I would assume that the crime scene photos were probably... They had the FBI right there. Now, I've often wondered, and I'm going to put this on my list of questions too. I've often wondered, because remember, the FBI is like, wants to come in, and then they're like on the radio saying like, no, hold them off. We don't need them yet. So I'm wondering, like, when did they actually allow them to start partaking in what's going on? You know what I mean? Ooh, that's a great point too, Marissa. Is ATS? Did I miss her? Hi, ATS. Yeah, what's the worst that really is going to happen to him? Hey, TNT. Where'd Just Deb's question go? Oh, this one. Yeah, that is a good question. Okay. Where did I stop? Actions require. Okay. The allegations in the probable cause affidavit and the information failed to show that Westerman did any of the actions required to meet the definition of exert control over property. The charging documents likely come closest to meeting the definition by implying that Westerman obtained the images. This argument fails. Westerman did not obtain the actual images in Baldwin's office. This is that whole, he didn't do anything with them. Westerman only obtained images of the images. There is nothing in the charging documents that state that Westerman ever touched the photographs. There's nothing in the charging documents that states that Westerman ever picked up the photographs. There is nothing in the charging document that states that Westerman ever possessed the actual images. He simply took photos. Taking photos is not in the statutory definition of exerting control over property. Now, I'm going to just throw this out there. the very beginning of this, if you guys remember when we were reading, it talks about documents. And I keep showing you guys the little bits where they say it's even in Richard Allen's statement about wanting to keep Baldwin and Rosie even after the leak, he talks about other discovery, not just the images. So I know that they keep talking about the photos, but there is something else that Westerman had. Now, did he take photos of documents? How did he get the documents? Because I'm at the point where I believe he probably went in there, probably took photos of the documents, but my bigger question is, not documents, took pictures of the photos. My bigger question is about the other info. There is other info. Taking photos is not in the statutory definition of exerting control over property. There are numerous examples of analogia, I don't know how to say that, behavior that are obviously not conversion. For example, if an individual goes to a museum and takes a picture of a painting with no photos, sign next to it, has the person committed conversion? Of course not. If someone takes a photo over the neighbor's fence of the flower garden, have they converted their neighbor's flowers? Again, of course not. Now, if the museum patron takes the painting off the wall or the neighbor picks the flower, then they are committing conversion. The difference in these examples is whether or not control is being exerted over the property of another. In these examples, just like in Westerman's case, simply taking a photograph does not meet the definition of exerting control over the property. But what, docs? I don't know yet. I don't know that yet. But I know that there is something else because they keep referring to something else. Every document refers to it. They just don't keep harping on it. Like everything else in this document talks about the photos, but there's something else because they keep referring to documents and other discovery. A lot of gray area here, Oz. I agree. And so when there's this much gray area on a very small, minute, I know that the photos are not minute, and I don't mean it like that. I mean in the crime itself of conversion, how far do you go to push it is really kind of where I'm at. I know I like to know the little details. I believe it's the Franks. That is what I believe, but I do not know that. I do believe it's the Franks. If you remember when the Franks came out and there was this whole big kerfuffle online about that was leaked, we already knew about it, everybody knew, And I was like, and then they're like, they leaked it, and we're like, they didn't leak it. Like, we literally pulled this off of the filing system. Like, we pulled it. Like, the clerk sent it to Bob, and it was there. Like, this isn't leaked. Well, if you go with what some of the other people were saying, this document, or at least the information from this document, had been, I don't know if I've ever heard anybody actually say they read the actual document, but I have heard many people say they knew about the document before it was coming out. They knew what the document contained. There's actually a channel that had posted, hey, next week, there's going to be a document coming. There's a lady in one of the Facebook groups that goes, hey, the second week of September, we're going to get a new document that's going to have some stuff about Odin's. Those are all things that are, I mean, those were online long before there was one, which of course I didn't know they were online until after I got it, and then people started talking about it. So I do think it's the Franks, but I don't know. Yeah, but they called the aspect of filing not sealed leak too. I think that became confusing. I agree. Hi Venue. When time and energy is so much better spent elsewhere. Right. There were words on the same page as the pics. You mean like describing, maybe information describing the crime scene, Lambert? Like parts of the Franks? That might make sense too, if they were using something like that. See, but the Franks isn't discovery. So that's my where I run into this. Because remember, we went through the whole thing, like work product versus discovery. So emotion is work product. So if it's other discovery documents, it would have to be something. Okay, so here's my second guess. Remember, there was another 2 sketches that were kind of sent out? That's not work product. That would have to be discovery. But would those be considered documents or photos? And were those photos that were there and they took the photo and here comes Westerman who takes the photos of the photos? If you get dismissed, I think even more it was orchestrated. Yeah, but he did. He chose a jury trial. Okay, here we go. Simply taking a photograph does not meet the definition of exerting control over the property. If we're still only talking about the crime scene photos. If there's something else, though, I don't know. But he's talking about the information contained in the quote unquote information and the probable cause affidavit. The state has also failed to show that Westerman exerted control over property of Baldwin. There have been no allegations made in the charging information that the images were of anything that was copyrighted or trademarked. To the contrary, the allegations are that Westerman took photos of images that were from the discovery in a murder case. These are not images that are owned by Baldwin. This is where I think the word semantics was really going to come into play. Because of the owned, these are images that they're not trademarked, but by other people involved in the murder case. Other attorneys may have these images. Well, I would assume other attorneys have those images. The state, because the state has the images. And now we know that the new defense attorneys would have the images. The police likely have these images. These images may be possessed by the trial court. Baldwin may own the paper that these images were printed on. However, as previously stated, there is nothing in the charging information to indicate that Westerman controlled the actual paper. Our Court of Appeals has analyzed a civil case involving an employee using the software of a former employee. The court held former employee's possession of software did not constitute conversion or trespass to chattel. I don't know what that is either. What is that? Anybody tell me what that is? I'll just look it up. It'll be faster than by the time StreamYard shows me your chat. Catch-all category of property associated with movable goods. Okay. Movable goods. Did not constitute conversion or trespass to movable goods. As to employer did not own the software and instead licensed it. And the former employee's illicit copying of the software did not impair employer's ability to use it. Okay, so copying, taking the photo, Baldwin still has the ability to use it. Westerman's case is very similar to Coleman. Baldwin is similar to the company with the software license. Simply possessing something legally yourself does not mean that you own it for purposes of the conversion statute. By possessing discovery, Baldwin is similarly situated to the company that has a license for the software. If anything, the company that actually pays for the software license likely has a stronger claim to ownership than an attorney that receives evidence as part of the discovery process. So then who would own it? The person who took the photo? For the above state reasons, Westerman does not believe that the charging information adequately states the grounds that an actual crime has occurred. Because of this, all charges against Westerman should be dismissed. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, please don't argue. I don't have the energy. I'm going to be really honest with you. I just don't. I have not gotten a lot of sleep this weekend. I don't have the energy for it. Just play nice or ignore each other. Okay, so where does this end? I don't know. Like I said, I understand that those getting out into the public. I get that they were. I get the magnitude of that, but if you think of it as a picture, and I know people were really upset with Rosie because he was like, it's really not as big of a deal as people are trying to make it out to be. But it's a picture of a picture. And if you take away the emotion behind the content of the picture, I think it's I don't know how you're going to go forward with this. Yeah, I see it being dismissed. Yeah, I don't. Jay Hughes made a post on X about this and explained it well. Oh, did he? Let's go take a look real quick before we move on to Nancy Grace. I like Shay. Let's see what he has to say. He's so cool, calm, and collected. He's just like, he's super chill. I'd like to see him like in court and like if he ever gets like fired up like some of the attorneys. Okay, why does my Twitter not want to work? Okay. He says, like Delphi related, oh, that's old. Westerman moved to dismiss, oh, he literally just put this up? This is like 2 minutes old. Westerman moved to dismiss the single count of conversion and contends the facts stated do not constitute an offense because 1, the state failed to show how Westerman exerted unauthorized control, and 2, failed to show the property belonged to Baldwin. As I mentioned in a prior post, I believe this case should be dismissed and would add that mere presence isn't enough to constitute control to support a conversion conviction. In Irvin, the defendant was a passenger in a vehicle, with the Court of Appeals rejecting the state's argument that occupying space within the property constituted control. That's like Westerman is in the office of Baldwin. He doesn't have control of the office. I got you. Okay. Similarly, in Dillinger, the plaintiff claimed EA committed conversion by using unauthorized references to John Dillinger in a video game. The court found the use of a trademark without permission did not constitute. To obtain, take, carry, drive, lead away, conceal, abandon, sell, convey, encumber, or possess property, or to secure, transfer, or extend a right to property. Thus, there must be something more than just mere authorized use. Both Irvin and Dillinger demonstrate the limitations of the exert control element. Given both cases, it logically follows that taking an unauthorized photo of property also doesn't constitute control. Like there you have it, folks. Hey, Mothman. Hey, VMath. So news media use photos and documents from sources. They don't get charged. I don't think we're going to, I don't know why we would even get there, but that's me. All right. Let me pull this up. Oh, Nancy. Oh, Nancy. Okay, let me see. I commented in the wrong window. Okay, so I Hunting Evils still say RICO investigation happens. It will shock some how high this ring has got tentacles. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Everybody, it should be dismissed. I just feel like it's such a waste at this point, but they won't drop it because a man took his life over this photo leak. That's a hard one. But I mean, you can't hold Westerman accountable for what Robert Fortson chose to do with his own life. I don't think that we can do that. I mean, this isn't like we can't throw a felony murder, or a felony suicide at Westerman. It's so hard because, and I've talked about this before, I have one of my best friends when I was younger committed suicide, and he would have been the person that nobody would have ever thought. Nobody would have ever thought would have ever done anything like that. His happiest person, life of the party, good personality, never upset, never mad, nothing. There's just so much I think that goes into why people make that decision that I think you can wrap it all up into one thing. That's where I'm at with it. I know if that's tough, but okay. So, yes or no? How many people had a chance to watch Nancy Grace over the weekend on her newest her her newest episode regarding Delphi? Hugs to you too, Mandy. Johnny. I'm sure his family would appreciate that it was fake, but I think they know. Yes, no, missed it, no, okay. Yes, nope. I'm sorry I can't watch her. I know PCM. My husband is the same way. He's like, what the hell do you have her on for? I am actually a fan of Nancy Grace, even though I agree with her on most things pretty adamantly, actually. I don't know. I've been a fan of Nancy Grace since she was Top Mom breaking news. Top Mom arrested. Or what, all of her shenanigans. She's like a actress for prosecutors. Like that's how I feel about her. But I enjoy. Hi Veronica. I owe you an email. You emailed me and I have not been able to get back to you because one, I suck at emails, and two, I had mouth surgery when you emailed me. But the second one is probably the most prevalent. Let's be real. I love Nance. She brings the saltiness in full effect. It's like menopause incarnate. She is. She's just so just. I mean, she definitely fits her. She fits her quote unquote role. But I get it. I know there's people who can't watch her. My husband is one of them. If she is on, he's like, I'm not. I'm out of here. And he'll say, "Tot Mom." He always does that one. I am. Thank you. So I can tell you from watching this now on my second time, and this will be my third with you guys. I can tell you that she's behind on a lot of things, which and I I give her the leeway. She covers a lot of cases. I struggle with just covering a couple of them, and she's talking about a different one every day. So I get it. I'm like, you don't know all the things. I get it. It's okay. I still like her. And I also if you guys don't know her history, like her fiance when she was younger was actually killed. She was a prosecutor. She's got a lot of emotion behind some of the things that she does, but she also has a lot of actress-y type things that she does as well. She's incredibly rude to her guests, but I think they kind of know that. And I guarantee you, like most of her guests, like she probably is like super chummy with outside and probably doesn't do that. But she has I have this problem. I have this problem when they do these panel type things on like court TV when they bring in their panel of experts. And if they bring in like 3 or 4 of them, these quote unquote experts get like 3 seconds of an opinion. And she's got, I think even on this episode, she's got Barbara McDonald, she's got Susan Hendricks, she's got Sharon McCollum, she's got Joseph Scott Morgan. She's got 4 on here. So she kind of just cuts him off and she's like, just get to the point. And I think that's her shtick. Yeah, exactly. Humanimal. Hi. She was amazing. My name is Earl when she filled in for Geraldo. Hi, Leo. Hey, Gambies. People either love her or hate her. I know. I'd rather watch Vinny. Vinny's facial expressions is what gets me when he's just like, holy shit. But both prosecutors. So I know she did. I was going to say that. I know. So she's behind. But like I said, I get it. But yeah, she probably should have kept that opinion about things she didn't know to her, probably to herself. But it is what it is. Okay, so let me start here. Like I said, this episode from her is about the CW documentary. I'm gonna play it. If you can't hear it, tell me. Then I'll turn it off because I don't remember if I shared sound.
Have you ever heard anything about one of these 2 little girls, Libby or?
Hi, Chelsea. He's gone over to the dark side. I don't. I think that he's just got questions like so many of us. I don't think he's actually on the dark side though. I can't help. All I find about this case is outdated. well, shoot, some of the shit from back at the beginning is gone. So you can't even find it. I don't hate her, but she is far from being this person. Yeah, no. But I think she's probably much nicer to these people in person. She just has more followers. I thought she was rude to a guest right in front of them. Oh, no, she's rude directly to the guests. Absolutely. But I think that a lot of the expert people are her friends, like outside of it. So they know her and they know like this is kind of her thing on here. That's what I think of how she's like that. But there's sometimes I think of like the people who are on for like their first interview. Like, do they get like a warning on how she's going to talk to them? Or do they know just because they know Nancy Grace? Because I could see some people being like very taken back by her approach. Okay, can anybody hear it? Did anybody? Nobody heard it because none of you guys said yes or no. I'm gonna take it down and then I'll stop again. Hey, BR. No way they warned them. They're just like, let's see what happens. Hi, Eris. I hope you're doing well. She's actually mostly polite to Tim. She gives on this episode, she gives Sharon Cullum a little bit of a hard time too. Poor Chris from the interview room didn't know when or how to jump on. Well, he's just like, shit, do I say anything? Do I not say anything? Okay, we're going to try this again. Now, if you can hear it, let me know.
Down the Hill podcast. Have you ever heard anything about one of these two little girls, Libby or Abby, being decapitated?
No.
Anything? You guys hear that? She's good friends with just about everyone on her panel. They know she is being a smarty pants. They know her well. That's what I think too. Yeah, you can hear it. Okay, perfect. So the first thing that she starts talking about is what she considers one of the rumors that came out during the CW documentary. And this right off the bat, I was like, this is a minute and 55 seconds in. It's the first thing that she comes in with because you gotta have the thing, the thing that brings in the people. So she's starts talking about whether Libby was decapitated and how she's never heard this before, or not that she wasn't, that she was I'm so sorry, that she was nearly decapitated and that she'd never heard this before. I found that interesting because Erskine's texts have been out forever.
Not to that extent. I've heard near decapitation, but that was very early on in the investigation. And I think it largely came from those text messages that are attributed to Abby's step-uncle or half-uncle, David Erskine, who claims in those text messages, if they're legitimate, that he was one of the volunteers to have found the bodies. And he recounted some of the things that he claimed existed at the crime scene. And with regard to the girls, I know that there's a lot of information contained in those messages that is not accurate. And
what information would Erskine?
So did you hear Barbara McDonald there? She says this came out due to Abby's step-uncle and some text messages, but that she knows that there is information contained in those text messages that it is not true. Oh, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Kind of written or texted that would suggest one of the girls was decapitated or near decapitated.
Well, we do know from the defense filings that the girls had fatal injuries to their necks that were caused by some sort of an edged weapon. And it's possible that a volunteer who came upon that scene might have thought it looked perhaps different than it actually was. But my understanding is that both girls were completely intact.
That's why it wasn't decapitated, it was nearly decapitated. So before we continue on with this, I'm actually going to bring up David Erskine's text so we can take a look at him. Did it kick me out of my thing? No, it didn't. Okay, so he says, whoever did it targeted Libby for sure and knew what they were doing with Abby. It was personal with Libby. Yes, I heard Libby had most of the injuries. This is the other person talking. That was Erskine. Yes, I heard Libby had most of the injuries. He says Libby's head was an inch away from being taken completely off. Abby was stabbed in the heart and artery in her neck. So this has been a point of interest to me because if you guys remember, Erskine had just had this conversation with Art of Deduction, Frank from Art of Deduction, not that long ago. I think he still has it up on his channel if you guys missed it. And he says these text messages are his, as far, as the ones that, that have been out there. But when Frank asked him about this part right here, he says, I never typed that. That text message isn't from me. That Abby was stabbed in her heart. He says he didn't say that. So I'm very curious about that. And now we have Barbara McDonald saying, I know that there's things in there that are not true.
New rumors are swirling. To Cheryl McCollum, my longtime friend and colleague, forensic expert, founder, director of the Cold Case Research Institute, and star of Zone 7 hit podcast. Cheryl McCollum, I don't understand how it benefits anyone to heap on gossip about these two little girls. Gossip like the real killer is someone else. The real killer is walking free. That Libby was near beheaded, quote, out of rage. Why?
So she's talking about the people from the documentary who stated that this is what has been out on social media. If you guys haven't watched the documentary, it's a lot of context around how social media has played a role in this case and what's happened on social media. Like I said at the beginning of this, I actually like Nancy, but I'm like, Nancy, your show is a monetized show. Obviously, this is where you make money. Within a minute and 55 seconds of the show starting, the first thing she talks about is this conversation from the documentary about Libby being almost decapitated. A minute and 55 seconds in. And then talks about why we're talking about this on a CW documentary.
Nancy, you and I both know there's a big difference between verified information and potentially harmful speculation and rumor. You have to ask yourself, how does this benefit the families of these girls? How does this benefit law enforcement? How does this benefit the prosecution?
Okay, so Sharon McCollum just said, how does this benefit the families? How does this benefit the prosecution? How does this benefit the case? How does this benefit anything? This CW documentary, right? How does it benefit any of those things? How does any of us talking about it benefit anything then? How does Nancy Grace's show benefit anything? like it's those types of things just kind of like, I listen to those words and I'm like, come on.
And the answer down the line is it doesn't. Not at all.
So everybody on this show tonight, or that we're listening to, it doesn't benefit anybody to be talking about it.
So to me, this can only be just reduced to almost a carnival barker. You're just trying to get hits and likes and people to watch what you're doing. That's all this is.
You're just trying to get hits and likes and people to watch what you're doing. I don't know. I just was so mind blown by this conversation on a stream that is a monetized podcast that actually pays for Nancy's life. I mean, that's just crazy to me. So Mothman says, do these fucking experts not realize that the families are irrelevant to the prosecution and the defense of the accused? And Mothman, I know you catch a lot of shit for saying stuff like this, but you're not wrong. I know that comes across so harsh. And I try to tell people this. It's not justice at the end is about the families, but it isn't. The trial isn't for the families. The trial is to make sure they have the right guy in order to give justice to the families. That's what the whole thing is about. If it was just about the families and the families all came together and they said, that's the guy we think it is, we'd have no trial, we'd be done. Right? We believe law enforcement. We believe Nick McClelland. He's the guy that it is. We don't need a trial. We're okay. We believe what they have to say, and we'd be done. If it was about the families, that's how our justice system would look. And I don't mean to say that really mean. It's how it's set up. It's how it's designed. It's how it works. Hi, Aspen. Hi, Charmaine. But still like peanut butter. Bean butter. Okay.
And when you're relying on people that we've never heard from, you're relying on people that are exes or somewhere on the perimeter.
Hold on, I know where you're headed with that, Cheryl McCollum. The very wild Delphi murder theory has now reared its ugly head again. An ex-girlfriend of a former person of interest, Ron Logan, insists that he, Logan, is the real killer, not the pharmacy tech behind bars who has admitted to the murders, who had the gun, whose bullet was found at the scene between the two dead bodies. It had cycled through his gun, used as a scare technique on the girls. You know how somebody, like in the movies, cocks the gun and twists the barrel. That's what he did. And
okay, so I just want to be clear. Richard Allen is not a pharmacy tech. He was a manager at CVS. He was a supervisor who happened to have the ability to do things in the pharmacy because of his position. Now, being somebody who was a retail manager for many, many years, I can tell you I was quote unquote certified in a ton of shit that I never ever did. So he's not a pharmacy tech. So that's one of the things.
One of those bullets fell out of his gun in his demonstrations to the two victims. Long story short, that bullet matches the gun at the defendant's home.
Remember, she's a prosecutor. That's where she comes from. She's a prosecutor. So she absolutely has faith in the fact that whatever is written in the PCA is going to be accurate.
That is incredibly probative, proves something. But that said, I want you to hear our friend Rachel Bonilla from Crime Online.
Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is let's talk just for a hot minute, because I don't want to go into her whole thoughts on Ron Logan. What I do want to say, though, is that Ron Logan had his ex-girlfriend who has now commented in a couple of Facebook groups about the documentary since it came out, and has made it very clear. And I think we talked about this when we covered all the stuff when it came to Delphi, or when we came into this documentary. Each of the people on there was actually interviewed for 4 to 5 hours. We know that they had how many people on there times 4 to 5 hours? How long do you think the documentary was going to actually be? They cut things out. There's not, Connie's whole life story isn't in there. So she's made some comments on some Facebook groups like, this is other things that I said during this 4-hour interview that I had that they cut out. She talks about that she met him in her 20s. She was not in her 20s when they were in a relationship. She was older than that. I don't know if she wants me to say her age, so I won't just say her age, but she was older. She met him when they were when she was in her 20s. He was in his, I believe she said he was in his 40s at the time. So they dated later. Then there's another episode releasing Thursday. Another episode of Crime Nation. Is that what you mean? Or because the next Crime Nation's on the Vicky White case, which I didn't really care too much about that. Idiots trying to run away. But I have a 30-minute interview with Connie on my R&M channel from last year. It's illuminating. Yes, Aspen actually was sharing that when we were talking about the Connie stuff last time too. I don't know if Ahmad would drop that interview. But so much was cut out of what Connie actually had to say. She talks about that they cut out when she went and actually filed a police report that they would not press charges against Ron. So there's 4 hours of an interview that she doesn't. It's like that she doesn't know how or why or what their reasoning was for cutting out the pieces that they did, because that's what you give them. You give them the right to be able to do what you want with, here, sit down with me for 4 hours and you're going to take whatever pieces you want. Yeah, let's edit it. And I don't think that that's necessarily even a bad thing. I think that it's what we know happens, but you have to recognize that, though, that every interview, all the time, they're taking out the pieces that they think are going to work. An ex-girlfriend's opinion is meaningless. She knows nothing relevant to Abby and Libby. No, I will not say that I think her opinion is meaningless, because I actually think it is meaningful. But my personal opinion is that she absolutely had a very traumatic relationship with Ron Logan. I think you can see that on her face, without a doubt. The second part of it is there's something that happens in human beings, like a confirmation bias, that she knows this terrible person or this person she believes is terrible lives right there, has done terrible things to her. Stories that she also talked about. She said that there was a story she told Crime Nation about an interaction with Ron Logan and 2 young females that they cut out of the documentary. So this is why YouTube channels, when it comes to true crime, when it comes to really anything that has anything to do with the news, YouTube channels or YouTube journalists are taking off, because there isn't the editing that goes along with them necessarily. There isn't the cutting out of the story. We sit here, we talk to a person, we go through the whole thing, and you can hear what a person says without it being just what we want to present to you. I found it interesting that Ron Logan was the one person who's had multiple people close to him say that BG is RL. Well, there's other people who were tipped in a lot of times also. I just don't know if it's as many as Ron Logan. Am I blocking people's comments? No. Nancy doesn't know shit from the Shinola about this investigation. I think we pretty much covered that, because I don't disagree. But it doesn't take away the fact that I still like Nancy Grace. I do, but you have to put it in context. I like Nancy Grace because I think that it's her entertainment value, versus that I feel like I'm going to listen to her and I'm going to get all the facts. Like if I want to understand the legal process, I'm not going to Nancy Grace to understand the legal process, if that makes sense. That's so confusing to me. I thought she was close to his family. Shit, I don't know. Veronica, I'm not sure. Are you talking about Connie? I missed a couple comments here, guys. Sorry. I think Ron's exes feel shame for compromising themselves in a transactional relationship. Well, I'm sure that they definitely probably have shame that they ever put themselves in a situation with him if he was treating him the way that said that he was. Yeah, I would agree. Okay. So she goes into a lot of stuff about Ron Logan. Let me go to, I want to get to Joseph Scott Morgan, though, and I know that I can't keep you guys here all night. 17. See, I actually went through and timestamped some stuff this time. I do know he had a few gross stories about him, but gosh, so many talked highly about him. It's kind of strange. Because there's also the one that said that when she needed, like when somebody needed help, when the lady needed help, they went to Ron Logan and he was the one who came to help them, you know? But also those people aren't necessarily in relationships with him. He doesn't have to have an ownership over them. It's very different.
Connie Dillman is the
Oh,
ex-girlfriend of Ron Logan. She claims
Or near. And joining us, Professor of Forensics, Jacksonville State University, and author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon.
I like
host of a
Joseph
hit
Scott Morgan.
series,
I like
Body
hearing
Bags
what he
with
has
Joe
to say
Scott
too.
Morgan. Joe Scott, you have studied the case from the very beginning. I'm trying to sort out what's true and what's not true. And bottom line is that somehow all of these pronouncements, many of them baseless, is that somehow going to hurt the trial? What can you tell me about your analysis of what happened?
The idea relative to the deaths of these two young girls, I've held from the beginning that they were specifically targeted and to.
Well, what do you mean by
arrive
that? That they were spotted
Well,
in the
I
park that
think that.
day, or that they had been
Let me
being
rephrase that.
stalked
Yeah,
for months
let,
and
yeah,
what?
let me rephrase that. I
Okay.
think that there was probably an awareness of these young girls in the community.
Well, for
I
Pete's
don't.
sake, the defendant was the pharmacy tech right there in the middle of town. He knew them and their families.
You are correct about that. And so, my thought is that this was an opportunistic event where the individual was looking for targets because they had an awareness of the school being out that particular day. They had the individual, that is the perpetrator in this case, had a preset location where he was going to take them to, where he would have time with them, or whichever victim had come along at that particular time that would suit his needs. And it would be in a location where he could have access to them, have privacy with them, because if what we are hearing about the crime scene, this is a complex crime scene, I think, with a lot of evidence that was down immediately adjacent to the bodies. Now we've gotten off, chasing rabbits, I think, relative to a lot of this stuff that's floating around out there about how they could have potentially have been, sacrificed by Odinist and all these sorts of things. But at its bare bones, what does the science tell us? And we don't have a lot that has been released to this point relative to them. I think one of the most disturbing things is you've got, admittedly, a lot of intimate contact that's going on, but yet we don't have DNA linkage that goes back to the primary suspect in this case. I
How
think
about
that
under the
that's
girl's
one.
fingernails, specifically Libby's?
Yeah, and I think that is a potential place.
Okay, so that was an interesting comment that she made, and I'm going to go back over here real quick, and I'm going to tell you why. So she talks about like not knowing Erskine's text messages, right? Let me see which one it is. Here, it is this one. I just skipped right over it, apparently. Right here. So in his messages, he says, correct, I don't know why she was nude, but I read the coroner's report. The only DNA would be from Libby's fingernails. She fought like hell. And then Nancy brings up the damn fingernails. That's Joseph Scott Morgan count. And it is. I don't know why. So I probably shouldn't talk at the same time I play this because for whatever reason he's really low. And I'm probably going to blow somebody's eardrum because I'm really loud. So I'll try to talk real quiet.
To harvest that DNA from, because you're going to have somebody that's fighting back. For folks that don't know how this works, if you think about a plow going into kind of virgin soil, and it's dragging along, creates furrows. That's one of the things that you begin to think about with the fingernails, where you're going to capture skin, blood, hair, that's beneath the fingernails. And they would have done, look, they didn't just do nail scrapings and nail clippings at autopsy. They did rape kits as well, Nancy. I can almost perfectly guarantee that. They also did alternative lighting photography, which is using things like infrared. If you can pick up on anything, any kind of marks on the body, I hope that they did all of this. They put on a full court press with this to try to collect as much data as they could from these bodies.
Well, isn't it true that we have been told at the get go, Cheryl, that Abby was dressed, Libby was not?
Some variation of that, yes. I've heard different type rumors, but yes, that's what we've been told.
Rumors, gossip, innuendo.
This I just was shaking my head. Rumors, gossip, and innuendo. We've heard stuff like that. Well, we now have a court document, which is equivalent to the other court document. Sorry, I was supposed to be quiet. I was supposed to be quieter. I'm just coming blast. Somebody's gonna blow an eardrum. I apologize. Well, we have a court document that's the probable cause affidavit and the probable cause for a search warrant. And then we have another court document from Brad Rosie and Andrew Baldwin that talks about the clothing and where the clothing is and whose clothing is on who. And she still talks about that it's rumor, gossip, and innuendo.
Now could damage the trial based on what? An ex girlfriend that claims to recognize the defendant's voice saying down the hill, played on a.
Okay. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. So I'm like backing away from my mic so that I'm not as loud. She says by a claim of an ex-girlfriend who says that she thinks that it is Ron Logan who said down the hill. Now, this just blows my mind because for how long was Carter, Holman, Riley, how long were they saying to us? How long were they saying to us that we want somebody to come forward and recognize the voice, recognize his walk? I mean, come on. Now it's if you do come forward, then it's actually rumor, gossip, innuendo. Talk about not wanting somebody to actually come forward. Like
a loop.
They
Let's
were
talk
asked
about
for
the
that.
evidence that we do know.
That is the evidence that they did know at the time. They did know at the time that the law enforcement was telling the public, listen to his voice, watch him walk. Somebody out there knows him. Somebody out there will recognize him.
To Susan Hendricks, Barbara McDonald, and Cheryl McCollum, what evidence do we know that connects the defendant who is headed for trial right now? Number one, his admission behind bars while on the phone. All of those calls are being recorded to family members claiming he did it. Number two, the bullet from his gun, based on hard ballistics forensics, found at the scene between the bodies, matched back to his gun, still in his possession at his home. And also feline hair, cat hair, Police actually exhumed
Okay. We're going to talk about the cat.
a family cat from the defendant Allen's yard to match up to cat hair found on one of the victims, a victim that we don't believe has ever been in the defendant's home. Now, Cheryl, I find those three pieces of evidence.
What court document does it say that there was a cat hair found and that they exhumed the cat and matched the hair? Where does it actually say that in the court documents? Where she says, let's talk about the actual evidence they have against the guy who is in jail and about to be prosecuted for the murder of these two girls. What document says that? What court document says that the cat hair exhumed from Richard Allen's dead cat matches a hair found on the girls? It doesn't say anything about cat hair nowhere. YouTube rumor said it. I think there's a Daily Mail article that says it. Yeah, stung is the cat. None on the docket. There's no court document I've ever seen that ever said that. So when she's talking about actual evidence against Richard Allen, no cat.
Evidence to be damning. What more can you add?
I mean, the fact that he told a law enforcement person that he was there that day, that to me is so critical.
Okay. Let's go through. Pull this back up for you. People that told law enforcement that they were there that day. It's critical. Carl Abbott with his daughter, David Riley with his dog, Dave McCain with his brother, Brad Heath working across the creek, or across the road, across 300 North. 3 other girls who were there and then went to Riley Park to play basketball. Anna Spath, who was there with Bree Wilbur and Rayleigh Voorhees and Rayleigh Voorhees' little sister. Betsy Blair went there for a walk. Sarah Carbaugh drove by there. Daniel Pearson, he was there with his girlfriend, possibly his other girlfriend, not really sure. Cheyenne, she was there with her friend. Cheryl was there with somebody else and walking. Michelle Weiss drove by. Terry Wilson drove by. Wesley McWhirter drove by. Yeah, Dave was there with his brother. This is just what's out there right now. We know that there's even more people that were there earlier in the morning. So the fact that he was there that day, mere presence isn't a legal standard of anything. Otherwise, we'd have 2, 3, and a dog, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We'd have 24 people in jail. This doesn't count all the people that we found on social media who were posting pictures of themselves there that morning. Still haven't added them because they're not witnesses to anything. But they were still there. So, not evidence. Nancy asked her, what other evidence do we have to add to the bullet, the cat hair? Cat hair doesn't count. And she says he was there. He was there that day.
You mean
The
at the
fact that
trestle
perhaps
bridge?
his car. Yes, at the
I mean,
bridge.
it's just like Scott
He
Peterson going,
places
yeah, I was
himself
at the
there.
marina the day Lacey
Mhm.
went missing at the body of water where I
Exactly.
was fishing, but that was just a big coinky dink.
Exactly.
What's a grown man with
And
a family doing out in the middle of the day when he should be working by himself, walking on a trestle bridge at the same time the girls go missing and are murdered.
And they didn't see
What was David Riley doing out there? Why wasn't he at work?
him out. He sought them out to tell them, hey, I was here. If you need anything, I can help you. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's going to be some other things that come out.
Mhm.
You know, they have not told us everything. I keep harping on that, and there's a reason.
And nor
They're
should
playing
they.
this so close to the vest.
Barbara
and nor
McDonald joining
should
us,
they.
Court TV documentary producer and producer of HLN's Down the Hill podcast. Barbara, what evidence in your mind is the strongest evidence linking the defendant, Alan, to the murders of Libby and Abby?
I think his own admission in the beginning that he was out there, that he was dressed similarly to the man that Libby captured on.
Okay, so Barbara McDonald just said his own admission that he was out there. So the same thing that Sharon McCollum says, okay? That he was out there. And she says back at the beginning, he admitted that he was out there and he was wearing the same thing. I just want it to be very clear. At the beginning, he did not admit that he was out there wearing the same thing. He admitted he was out there between 1:30 and 3:30. Not from 1:30 to 3:30. Between 1:30 and 3:30. He did not talk about what he was wearing until 5.5 years later. And I'm not saying these things because I think that because I'm adamant that Richard Allen is not the guy, because I'm not there yet. But I hate the wrong. It's wrong. That's not what they said. That's not how it went. He did not tell anybody back in 2017, I was there from 1:30 to 3:30 wearing jeans and a blue Carhartt jacket. That is not what happened.
The video, and that the witness statements, while they're a little bit all over the place, there is a lot of similarity in what the witnesses said, and they seem to have seen a man dressed like him around the time he says he was there, so that all seems to line up.
So the fact that he places himself at the scene wearing the same kind of clothes as the guy pictured in the girl's cell phone. To you, Susan Hendricks, what do you believe is the strongest evidence linking Allen to the murders?
I believe it is the unspent bullet, but as you know, Nancy, it could.
Okay, so this is Susan Hendricks. She's the one who wrote the book Down the Hill. She's also just started her own podcast or YouTube channel or podcast. I don't remember which one. So she's friends with Becky Patty.
Be the battle of the experts when they get on the stand. I've heard from some experts that it, yes, is like a fingerprint from others. I'm sure they will dispute that. To me, what stands out are those jailhouse calls that both the defense and the prosecution mentioned at a hearing this past June. And I always think back to Casey Anthony and those jailhouse calls.
Hi, Cop Facts. So she brings up Casey Anthony here and the jailhouse calls. And I'm sorry, you guys. I really am. I'm really sorry because some of this stuff just doesn't fucking make any sense to me. Nancy asked her, what is your biggest thing that makes you think that he's the guy, right? What is the biggest thing? And so her response is that it's the unspent round. And now she talks about that it's the jail confessions that are going to be like the biggest thing to prove he was there. And in comparison, she uses a case where the perpetrator was found not guilty.
We know that the prisoners know that it is recorded. So it will be interesting to see exactly what was said and will it be played in court. To me, that's the most damning. And of course, as Cheryl and Barbara mentioned, being on the bridge that day.
What do you mean by jailhouse calls potentially being the most damning evidence?
If the prosecution and the defense mentioned at that hearing in June that he did admit to doing this, to killing Abby and Libby, and I believe it was on an iPad or a phone call, a device, it was recorded. So will they play it in court? I'm sure they will as evidence that he confessed to his wife and his mother.
I mean, so to you, Matthew Mangino joining us, high profile lawyer, former prosecutor in Lawrence County, and author of The Executioner's Toll: The Crimes, Arrests, Trials, Appeals, Last Meals, and Final Words, and Executions of 46 Persons in the U.S. Matthew Mangino, thank you for being with us. Matthew, why now? Just as we're heading to trial, are all these wild theories and so called specials occurring that are spouting out evidence that either is not true or is very harmful to the state's case?
No, right there. So not true. Not true. Why are people saying things that aren't true? I don't know anything that was said on the CW documentary that is quote unquote not true. I mean, whether you believe Connie or don't believe Connie, that's a personal choice, I guess, but that's her story. So what she would say would be her story. She probably has proof of her police reports. That's my thought. Now, all the YouTubers are on there talking about their experiences that they went through and the things that they heard as content creators, people from social media, all things that most of us have heard.
Well, Nancy, obviously this case has generated a great deal of publicity, and people want their opportunity for 15 minutes of fame. They want people want to talk to them. There's gag orders, so we don't know a lot that's going on in court, and so
there's gag orders. I would be very curious to know how many people on that CW documentary, any one of them, any one person on that CW documentary that talked to Becky Patty the day they filmed. You think any of them talked to Becky Patty the day they filmed? 2 people on Nancy Grace talked to a family member the day they filmed.
If you're going to,
and by saying that, I do not mean that Becky Patty was out there giving out, confidential stuff. I'm just saying it's kind of ironic.
Generate any news about this case, it's going to come from people on the fringe. But what it does is it contaminates, the jury pool. I mean, so you have
people on the fringe. We're about done. We're about done with Nancy Grace, just FYI. I just want to let you guys know that. But it says that people on the fringe. Following this case now so damn closely, I can tell you what the issues are. The issue is trust. The issue is trust. Who do you trust? Who do you believe? The people who believe and trust Tony Liggett, the people who believe and trust Carter, Holman, Lesenby, those people are in one particular place. They are here. They are adamant that Richard Allen is the guy. They trust those people. There is the other people over here. You guys can't see me. I don't know why I'm doing a lot of hand motions right now, but you guys have no idea what the hell I'm doing. There's a whole other group of people over here who trust Baldwin and Rosie and now Labrado. There's a trust over here. They do not trust this side. This side does not trust this side. What is happening is those people that are trusting now don't want to trust each other because you trust different people. And then some people are like, I just trust the system. I trust the system. I trust law enforcement. I back the blue. I have a big problem with this because we have the blue who are saying they believe after their investigation after their investigation, these other people are involved. So if you back the blue, why don't you back Click, Ferenczi, and Murphy? Why does what they came to the conclusion on in their investigation, why is it any less relevant than what Liggett and Holman came to? Richard Logan. I think people, there's where all the fighting comes in. It's just, who do you trust? And then we can't get mad at each other because we trust somebody else. I mean, I think that a lot by this point, I think people are just mad at each other because of actions that have actually happened. And I'm still going to go back to what Julie said on that documentary. It's the evil that was done to the girls, and it's the evil that we do to each other. Nancy said Richard Logan? No, she did not. Did she really? She didn't really say that, did she? Okay, now you guys are just making shit up. Did she really say that? So, like I said, I just think it comes down to who do you trust, and so that's where I think everything falls. People don't trust Liggett. People don't trust Holman. No, she didn't. Okay, you guys are getting. You can have me out here talking about cat hairs. Damn it. Nobody trust. No, don't trust anybody. Trust the evidence and the facts that'll come out at trial. Is it Richard Ronald Logan on Whiteman Drive? She's just saying she's mixing shit up, but very confidently. Oh yeah, got you. Okay, I think that was pretty. I think that's.
Carroll County's not a huge county. If you're going to try this case there, and all this publicity is swirling around the community about, other offenders or other people involved, or the salacious, details of what happened, that pool is going to be contaminated, and this case may need to be moved or another jury brought in because of these rumors that are swirling through the community and the crowd.
I don't think there was anything else on there that I actually thought was a huge deal. I think we went through the bigger parts of it, so I'm going to let that go. I watched another creator who did an episode on a guy they framed, searched his property illegally, and lied about facts. So it's not unheard of. I mean, it happens. They had months to explore Rick Allen as the person arrested. Didn't they want to research the man? I'm assuming that's not at the center. Nope. Let's focus on the one particular click. If I'm reading this right, which I think I am, Humanimal, they weren't investigating the murders. They were actually investigating something else that led them to those people being involved in the murders. So they weren't just specifically looking for Rick Allen, if that makes sense. They weren't specifically looking for a Rick Allen even. So, and then they weren't researching or exploring after Rick Allen was even arrested. Yeah, don't let the emotions make decisions for you. It's not good. I do think that they would be able to find a jury pool. I do. Because there's, as much as we end up so absorbed in things, other people don't. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with their lives that they're so busy, but I think they could actually get a jury. My issue is I don't feel like anybody's getting us to a trial. I don't think anybody's pushing to trial right now. And I don't know if they're going to last. That's kind of where I'm at. Hi, Junior. I love how the guy who wrote a book about state-sanctioned murders is more measured than Nancy Grace. That's what I said, but that's her character. I like her for that. An XPOI. I'm not sure I'm following that line of comments. So I may have missed something. I really think RL had something to do with it. 2 ex-girlfriends and his cousin also think so. I don't think that anybody can tell who is on that fucking bridge. I'm going to be really honest with you. I just don't. That video is so distorted. It's literally everybody and it's nobody. Put it next to somebody and I guarantee you can, I can see this, I can see that. And then you put it next to somebody else, you're like, nope, nope, nope. I can see this and I can see that. And ignores all the accusations against, because that's who he trusts. That's why I said it all comes down to trust. That's how I feel. I feel like the BG image in the video is just useless. It would have been different if they'd actually put out the original one. But I don't think she knows enough to be able to do that. I just don't. I don't think that she's up. She's not really in the know of what's going on to be able to do that. And so I get people's point, like that she has such a huge platform that her putting out any bad information just creates more confusion. And I feel this way in general, like, and what I really try to bring any type of receipt or anything I possibly can when I do have something to say about like research wise, to have something to show like where I'm getting that from. It's tough because not everybody does. And they just go, hey, believe this, or hey, believe that. And then it's like, okay, I guess we trust this creator, or we trust Nancy Grace. Hi, Mandy. BG does not look 5'6" to me at all. Doesn't look 5'6" to me, but I would not be able to sit here and say that I think it's Ron Logan. I can't sit here and say that I think it's Richard Allen. I can't sit here and say that I don't think it's Ron Logan. And I can't sit here and say I don't think it's Richard Allen. Because it could be anybody. They compared that damn bridge, the sketches, the bridge pictures, and the video to so many potential POIs over the years that I could see it. I'm like, I could see that. I could see that. I thought BG was a lot of things. 5'6" was never one of them. What did they call it? Unified command for? Serendipity, that's actually a good question. And maybe somebody in chat will be able to answer this. I had never actually heard it called that until the defense called them that. Hi, Travis. And she doesn't know enough to. Nancy Grace just doesn't know enough. They never stopped her before. She's zero credibility. Anyone in here knows more than she does on law facts. Yeah. That's why I said I do enjoy her channel though. So I'm not gonna. I won't say that I don't, because I do. I think there's a total of 9 sketches. 9. I think 9. Hard Candy, did I miss your question? Or did I read it? I'm going back up. Is the prosecution or judge stalling the case? Honest question. Anybody can answer. Well, it depends, because if you think that Goal and McClelland are in cahoots together, then it's probably a combo. Do I think the defense is stalling? No, I do not. I do not believe the defense is stalling. I don't. But I do have, when it comes to like what we were talking about with Westerman, I have questions about what these documents are and how Mitch Westerman got his hands on them. I do. But I don't think that has anything to do with where we're at now on the other case. I believe that there is, I don't know if Goal and McClelland are actually doing anything together. I mean, there's some really shady shit that makes me lean that way, because of how the hell did McClelland know in October to have all those cops there, and they were going to have like this hearing that the defense, I know some people are like, the defense knew, but they didn't know that that's what it was actually about. And even when they asked for clarification on this one, whether it's civil or it's criminal, they still can't even get a straight answer. She just denies that and says, oh, too bad. We'll see you on March 18th. If I had to say right now, I feel like it's McClelland. I feel like he is the one that's stalling. He's the one. He didn't have to put this forward. The Supreme Court already ruled and put these guys on the case and said, hey, these are the attorneys he wants. We know that the outcome of this legally cannot be for them to be removed. So it's either he wants them fined or he wants them put in jail. I'm going to say it out loud, even though Bob and Travis both tell me no, I still have some weird gut thing that says Gold's going to try to do something after, but that's just me. But we know that the punishment has to fit the crime, right? And so this punishment is for contempt is either going to be jail or a fine. Is it worth it? Again, we're going to go back into is it worth it? Instead of focusing his time and energy on getting justice for Abby and Libby, he wants to focus on punishing the defense. Punish the defense team. That bothers me. I do not feel like he was ready to go to trial. They were set to go to trial in January. He knew from October, I believe it was 4th, if I go back and look at my timeline, he knew October 4th that they told Judge Gold and him that they were ready to go. They were going to be filing their speedy trial at the beginning of November. They were set to go to trial in January. And all of a sudden, the first appearance of Luttrell happens to be at the hearing. You get finally, after a year, gets a special prosecutor to assist him on a case that he's not qualified to handle on his own. And he thought he was going to get him up to speed by January. I just don't think so. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I'm going to be singing that all night. Thanks, Aspen. He doesn't know what to do. That's where I'm at. I think that he needs a little bit of stall time. He needs a little bit of stall time so that he can get Luttrell ready to go to trial. That's what I think. I mean, look, he didn't even change the charges or request to amend the charges until after Luttrell came on. And Luttrell's like, dude, what are you doing here? Like, these should have been your charges from the beginning. This is how it all laid out. And we've gone over that if there was new evidence that led them to changing the charges, they'd need a new probable cause affidavit. He states in there, we are just saying that these charges are more aligned with what the original charging documents are. That this is essentially what we should have charged him with to begin with, which is what we all, I think, said, that his charge made no sense. Westerman's trial is going to bring us some meat if it goes. All 4 defense lawyers presumably believe Arlie is innocent despite the confessions. That makes me question the context. How can they think he had nothing to do with it if they also believe the confessions? From everything I know about the confessions, it literally says, or everybody says that it's like a generic thing. It's not I think it was it McCollum or was it Hendricks on here that said, he says he killed the girls. Well, from my understanding, he doesn't say that. He doesn't say I killed the girls. It's a generic, like, I don't know what's actually said. I can't tell you I don't know, but it's along the lines of it's my fault, something like that. Sleuthy, what's Sleuthy say? Nancy Grace is an ass. That bitch blocked me on Twitter. Oh, that's actually fucking funny. I just keep hearing generic, and I think that's what came out at the hearing in June. But I'm really looking forward to going over the transcripts when they're actually released. Does it? I don't even know, because my mind is so foggy. It's all over the place. I'm telling you, like, one day I'll be like, okay, Richard Allen did it. This is why I think he did it. And then I'm like, the next day I'm like, oh, what about this? And what about this? What about that? And then I'm like, okay, the Odinist did it. I'm like, but what about this? And but what about this? I don't know how I could help anybody's mind be clearer. That's crazy to me. Because I feel like I like Sleuth told me, like, I go down 15 different lanes on the freeway and I can't get to an end. I can't I can't figure out which lane I'm to stay in and drive because I'm doing 50,000 things. But he leaves generic out. But let me just say, well, this is just, once again, this is just my opinion based on just my thought process. If Richard Allen said, I killed the girls, I did it, I killed them, I stabbed them, I moved them, I put them here, I put sticks on them, I tried to cover it, anything that tied him to the actual crime, I left my bullet there, or my my unspent round, I could never find it, anything, if he ever said anything like that actually tied him to it, now that's a confession. That's how I feel. Like, otherwise it is generic. I was there, it's my fault, I could have stopped it. I don't know what the right thing he said is, but I'm just saying that's what bothers me. I put Libby's shirt on Abby. Yeah, if he said something like that, I'd go, got it. But I think if he did, Nick was ready to talk about that in June. Why would he not say he admitted that he killed the girls and covered them with sticks? He admitted that he put Libby's clothes on Abby. He admitted this, that, the other. Why would he would? I just think he would. That was he was ready to go with that. I just don't feel the confession sticks to something like that. So for me, the confessions are not as big of a deal. Not until we have a solid something to it. And nobody seems to be saying that. No side, no defense side, no prosecution side, nobody seems to be saying that there's anything substantial in this or in these confessions. So I go back then to the bullet. And that's the only thing that I think that's going to come down to two experts playing in the witness box. Like, that's going to be it. And it's going to come down to who they believe, who the jurors believe. I'm telling you, because I don't understand a lot about guns and ammo and stuff like that. You guys know that. So I try to ask questions to get a better understanding of it. And I've been trying to listen to people. And so there's these gun experts. And I'm telling you, some of them are like, there's no way in the world that they're going to be able to match this. And then you got this other guy over here who's like, oh, I just would put this right here. And then so it's going to be right here. And then you're going to see where that matches up. And I'm like, okay, I don't know which one of you is right. I don't know. And I know they call it junk science. I know that. But here's the thing. It may be junk science, but that junk science has put many, many people in prison. Some of them wrongfully convicted because they shouldn't have actually been able to use it. But just saying, junk science has put people in prison. So it can be junk science all it wants to be. It doesn't necessarily mean it won't work. We don't know that. That's what Barbara McDonald says. I do not think that's accurate, Nancy. I mean, look at her interpretation of the F tree. Does that match what we saw on the F tree? I don't know. I don't know how much I really believe her. Hi, Rachel. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, and welcome. The bullet is shit. No chain of custody. Now, that is an interesting, the no chain of custody part. Problem is, judge didn't care and said, too bad, suppression hearing denied without a hearing. So bullet is in. So even if there's no chain of custody, doesn't matter. Bullet is into the trial. Unless something else happens. So right now, as of right now, the bullet is evidence. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Travis says that kind of tool mark evidence, not really science because it requires subjective opinion, has put people on death row. Yep. I mean, Nick blurted out in court that he made multiple confessions during the June hearing that Goal allowed their subpoenaed witness not to attend. Right. Ironic, isn't it? Ironic. So many appealable issues. I don't even think that's even a question anymore, Dusty. But now everything is just because everything is so appealable. Most of the documents that we're getting are just for that reason. And that's unfortunate because that isn't getting justice for the girls. If you listen to the lawyer from the Innocence Project, she said 90% of false imprisonment is due to junk science from bullets. Unspent rounds rarely put people in prison because most murders involve forensic ballistics involving... Okay, hold on. Unspent rounds, yes. Now that's another good point. And Bob brought that up too, was about the unspent rounds. Like how many, even though it's ballistics that put people in prison and have put people on death row, how many times have they used an unspent round to do that? It's a great point. Chain of custody. Oh, it'll go to weight, not admissibility. Okay. So it's going to be allowed even though it doesn't have chain, even if it didn't have chain of custody, and then the jury can just decide what they think of that? That seems crazy to me. I would think that would mean that if you don't follow the proper protocols, it shouldn't even be evidence. Yes. Right, yes. He's a blurter. The bullet does not match the ID of the bullets received. It's a practice trial. That's what that's what Mark, well, I can't think of it. Mark Lehman said. Unspent, very different to spent. It will go to wheat. Oh, woman. That's perfect. How do you block Sleuthy? The first thing I was like, how do you block Sleuthy? And I was like, well, why do you want to block Sleuthy? And then it's all mad because, like, how do you do it? Like with a question mark. Mad because she makes sense? Because she's telling you stuff that you don't know? Not sure the name, but I know it was the Paranormal Brothers. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know, gosh, I know what it is. I can't tell you the name of it either. On okay. I need somebody to type out, like, in 5-year-old terms. Is it Apophis or is it Apophis? Because somebody told me the other day I was talking about your channel and I said it's I have Apophis, and they were like, it's Apophis. And I was like, no, it's not. And so now I see you and I'm like, I need to know. I got to know the answer to that. Kay says, I'm convinced they probably cycled that unspent round through Ari's gun when it was in LA possession when they were allegedly testing it. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second, because so many people who are on the Richard Allen is absolutely the right guy. They keep saying, like, oh, so what? They went into the house and they, like, you know, they took Richard Allen's gun, you know, be back in the day, and they put his bullet out there, and they did all this just to set him up 5 years later. And I'm like, that's not even the thought process. That's not even the thought process. It's that something happened to make it match Richard Allen's gun after the fact. But I think people are missing that because they just want to go, oh yeah, so he set it all up 5.5 years later. Don Spain, I think that was one of the things that Bob was talking about, was that he could not find a case that actually had an unspent round convict anybody. But I would be curious, now that we're talking about it, Don, is there any case where an unspent round was evidence, was the only evidence? Whether it even was evidence or that it was the only evidence, whether the person was convicted or not. Just how often was it even used? Now that's a good question. I'm done complimenting myself. I'm like, that's a great question, Teresa. That unspent round was found after the scene was released. It was the second time they secured the scene. I know that's what Barbara McDonald said, but I'm not sold on that yet. I do know that they released the scene. I was watching videos of Ron Logan, and he's down at the scene on the 16th. But there is a post about the interview with a clip from the interview on the 15th. The problem is the clip is him being interviewed by the same person up at his house. So I'm trying to find the actual interview from the 15th, or dated the 15th. But if the bullet is the only good evidence, then it might be reversible error rather than plain error. Yeah, so I was like, if it's the only evidence, yeah. Or was it ever used along with other evidence? Because I think right now that's part of the issue. Apathis. What? Apophis. That's what I say. Apophis. That's what I say. I have apophis. Oh, he says either one. Either. I have apophis. I can't do it. It's going to be apophis. I'm sorry. That's just how it's going to be. I was so far behind on comments, I didn't even realize it. The chain of custody is compromised to that degree, then it would not be admitted. Go look at the firearm custody sheet the state crime lab has. They didn't note they manually cycled around. It only says they test fired it. Ooh, does it really? Go back and look at that. Hey, Larkin, where on paper by a coroner or a forensic pathologist does it say it was all over by 3:30? Well, that's a good question, because we have David Erskine who says it was over by 3:30. He says he read the coroner's report. We don't have the coroner's report to actually know that. But if it was over by 3:30, then where the hell was this guy hiding for, what was it, 20 minutes? Before, is it 3:58? 3:57? 3:57. 3:57, 3:58. Does it really matter? Probably. To me it does, but either way. I'm just having a conversation with myself now. Where does this guy hide for 20 minutes? Why is he hiding for 20 minutes? What is he doing for 20 minutes before he goes out and starts walking down the street where Sarah Carbaugh supposedly sees him? Radar, I don't even know anymore. I don't know what the hell I'm looking for. I'm so far behind. I'm just scrolling. There are cases where an unspent round helped convict along with other evidence, but not solely. But you said innocent people were convicted by unspent rounds. Show me where. Did I say unspent rounds, or did I say by ballistics? Because if I said unspent rounds, I should not have, and I meant by ballistics, which I thought is what I said. But maybe I didn't, Don, and I will make sure that that is not what I say. Because I know that was a conversation I actually had with Bob from one of his, I think it was on Court TV or something. He was talking about that there's no case where where an unspent round convicted somebody. And I remember having that conversation. So I meant ballistics. That ballistics, junk science, which is ballistics is considered junk science. That's what I meant. So correct that. Tired. Been on here now for a while. Anybody know offhand? There was not. I actually have that up. I was looking at it earlier, ironically. There you go. Hey, Polygraph. Because Becky and Anna supposedly had it, even though, and that's where he says that they were lying to the person who said they didn't have it, or they told they didn't have it. Turner v. State. Oh, Tornado, didn't we talk about that? Because that sounds so familiar to me now. So defense will have to get an expert. Tool marks is what examination of cartridges being ejected. Ballistics is examination of the bullet after fire through a gun. So this is tool marks. Thank you, Travis. Yeah, there's a samurai letter opener. Yeah, I was like, yeah, as soon as you said that, I'm like, wait a minute, that's right, I remember that case. I said by that type of evidence. Okay. Well, I've been now completely corrected, and it's tool mark evidence. So that's where we're at with it. The BG gun has a silencer, and Richard Allen didn't get rid of anything that day as far as I know. I don't know how we know. How did we know it has a silencer? was probably Kathy's. Hi, Wildlight Arts. Turnkeys always open and read letters. Wrong, it's all tool marks. Ballistics has nothing to do with it. Well, yes, yes, correct. I think I'm about done for the day. Tool marks, ballistics, unspent rounds, subjective. That's where we're at. Turner didn't compare a known tool to an unspent round. It compared to 2 rounds. They never found the gun that made the unspent round. Do we know if it was compared to the Winchester bullet found in the keepsake box, though? I don't even think they collected an unspent round in 2017. Oh, I don't think it was added to the story until. Oh, I got you, Kay. Ah, I got you. Yes, they are. Tool marks and ballistics are very different. Yes. The same tech typically does both ballistics and tool marks. Tool marks is much, much more questionable per the National Report of Forensic Science than ballistics. They need a tool mark expert on the bones to match a weapon. They made RA stay outside. Everything I said is still correct. Testimony about marks on cartridges and whether you can match has come under a lot of scrutiny since the report. Okay. So I fixed what I said, but when I fixed what I said, I broke what I said. And so you fixed what I said the second time I said what I said. I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. It's okay. It's good. I quit, man. I'm totally okay. So we didn't do. It's too late. It's too late. I gotta go cook dinner. What kind of knife? What kind of knife? Well, they took a ton of knives, but the whole rumor was always it was a Bowie knife. Remember? I don't know why I say remember when I can never remember. I quit for the night. I love you guys. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. My brain isn't even functional anymore. There's too many tool marks in it apparently. And we'll be back tomorrow. I want to go over, I kind of started it. So you guys come prepared tomorrow with thoughts, just regular questions of what have you heard about the case that we have no freaking idea where the hell it came from. And so that we can work together to try to source some of the information that has been out there throughout the years. We'll try to figure it out. So anything that you think that you remember that you're like, where the hell did I hear this? Let's go figure it out. So we're going to put all that together and then we're going to work on it. So I already started with a few of them. And then I have some other docs on, do we know how much is out there about Richard Allen's military history? Is there a lot of info out there about that? Not a lot. I don't remember finding too much. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Richard Allen's military history and his work history. So maybe we'll get to that too. So that's kind of the next things on put it on. That's the retirement one. Is that just the retirement one or his actual, well, he's Army National Guard. Okay. Okay. I think we definitely need to go over the military then, because he was military for quite a bit of time. And he was Army National Guard, active duty. So we'll go over that. We'll go over that because I have all of his military records. DD 214s for the guard only show basic training service. Well, I have some other forms. So, okay, we'll go over that too then. That makes sense. Perfect. That's exactly what I needed to know, kind of where everybody's at. I didn't know if those were out there or not, so I got those. We can go over all of his docs too. All right, I'm going to hop off. I'm going to go make some dinner. Not 30 days. He was in longer than 30 days. The report I saw said 30 days. All right, I'll show you guys. We'll do it tomorrow then. All right, so tomorrow we'll do, unless something pops off, which you never know with this case, unless something pops off, we'll go over our questions so that we can come to figuring them out for sources, and then we'll go over the military history. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for being here. There's no way he's AGR. Ooh, come tomorrow. You never pass a PT test. All right, I'll show you guys. I'm going to show you. All right, I'll talk to you guys mañana. Go have a good rest of your Monday. Thank you, Dean.